Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you how to start being vegan. Okay, first just a background. So I've been toying with the idea about being vegan for about a year now, but I only properly gave up everything in February or March of this year. I would say March, yeah. I went back and forth a little bit, and sometimes I still do, depending on where I am and how easy it is to find vegan options. But now 95% of the time I'm vegan. Let's start by talking about your reasons. So before you decide to go vegan, you want to understand what your reasons are for wanting to be a vegan. And most people have this divided into three different areas. So one is ethical, one is environmental, and one is health. So ethical reasons would be if you're worried about the animal industry and animal cruelty. Environmental reasons is about if you want to reduce your carbon footprint. And health reasons is if you're worried about your health.
And that's pretty straightforward.
Now there are tons of documentaries out there, loads on Netflix, some even on YouTube. The ones I started off watching before I decided to go vegan was Cowspiracy and What the Health. And then I later on even watched Dominion on YouTube. And yeah, there's tons of documentaries out there, so I'm not gonna overwhelm you with the facts about the different benefits of being a vegan. But for me, the reason that specifically stood out was the environmental reasons. Seeing a lot online about how being a vegan can reduce my carbon footprint and protect the environment a little bit, it was a no-brainer that I wanted to try and be a vegan. But obviously it was a very hard decision to make, and not everyone has the privilege to decide to want to be a vegan, depending on where you live, depending on who you live with. So I was very lucky that I had the chance to do this, and I had the privilege to do this. So if you can do it, and if you want to, then try. But if you can't do it, then don't beat yourself up, it's fine. So yeah, like I said, learning about how much being a vegan reduces my water consumption and carbon footprint, it was pretty much clear to me that I wanted to try and do this. Before watching these documentaries, I already had quite a good idea of what the animal industry looked like, but I feel like it wasn't really a big thing for me at that time. I didn't eat a lot of meat, I would say. I was quite picky about meat. I would eat fish, I'd eat chicken at the most, but I wouldn't really eat beef or pork. So I felt like I was already doing enough. And cutting out beef from your diet is already doing a lot for the environment, because cow farming produces a lot of carbon emissions. So if you feel like you can't go the whole way, then just give up one thing, or try and eat less meat during the week. You're already doing a lot of good. A lot of people think that vegans are really extreme and trying to make you give up all these things. And I'm not gonna lie, I have experienced some people who are like that, but what we need to realize is that we can't change other people and how they've grown up. You've grown up a certain way, getting used to certain habits. You can't just give up everything in one go. That's so unrealistic. And it's hard to change habits. And some people are just not open to changing those habits at all. So you can't expect everyone to want to do this. So I guess the first thing I could tell you about going vegan is that you are gonna experience quite a lot of backlash from people about trying to be vegan, but try not to let it get to you. If it resonates with you, then you try doing it. It's all for you. Don't try to do it to please anyone else. So yeah, let's get into how I started being vegan. Last summer I gave up milk as my first step, mainly because I was having some issues with it to do with lactose intolerance and stress related IBS. So that's why I first stopped having dairy, milk, because I was still having cheese, and I was still having products with dairy inside. But I stopped drinking milk in terms of in cereal and coffee and tea, and I swapped to oat milk, which is literally my favorite alternative milk. Yeah, that's my first tip for you. Once you know what your reasons are for wanting to be a vegan, try giving up things one at a time, because by giving up one thing at a time, you're letting yourself get comfortable with the changes you're making to your diet and get used to this new thing that you're having. The other thing that I wanted to add is that if you don't think you can give something up completely just yet, it's also good to like ease into it. So for example, you can start by having like one vegan day a week, where it gives you time to like try out some recipes that you want to try out and get used to eating vegan foods. And then once you're used to that, you can add in another day, maybe like do 2 or 3 days a week, and then slowly you give up one thing at a time completely. So like I said, for me, the first thing I gave up was milk. So then when I went back to university after having spent my summer break here, I completely gave up dairy after a couple of months because I was reacting really badly to it. So I stopped having butter, I stopped having cheese, I stopped having like cookies and cakes and things that had milk inside of them. And honestly, that was probably the hardest thing to do, because once you start looking at ingredients and checking what things have, that's when you realize how many things have and contain milk or milk ingredients. Like, it's actually crazy.
Like, things that don't even need milk ingredients have milk ingredients in them.
So it really baffles me. But for me, I'd say that dairy was probably the hardest thing to give up of things to give up as being a vegan. But for me, I kind of had it a bit easier because I knew how badly I reacted to it and how I didn't want to feel that way. So I had to just, like, I had to not eat it, you know? Okay, so then the next thing I gave up was meat. Like I said kind of earlier in the video, I didn't really used to eat that much meat, especially living on my own. Like at home, I used to eat chicken at least once a day, but once I started living on my own, I didn't, because I kind of had a problem with raw meat.
I didn't like raw meat. I didn't like touching raw meat.
So yeah, I didn't really eat a lot of meat when I was cooking at home, but if I was going out for meals, then I would still eat it. I started doing that probably in January or February of this year. I started by giving it up a few times a week, like where I could choose vegan, I would, or vegetarian. And then slowly I gave up more and more, and then yeah, I just completely stopped. And the last thing was eggs. That one was hard because in my first year of university, I would eat eggs every day for breakfast. So that was like my go-to breakfast meal. But because I'd been toying with the idea for quite a while, I had started looking at other breakfast options from like my second year into my third year of university. So I'd already tried other things and stopped having as much eggs. So it wasn't too bad. Like, it wasn't too hard to completely give it up. But I did take my own sweet time with it because I wanted to be comfortable. I wanted to be ready to completely stop. And even once I stopped, like, I did go back and forth a few times because of convenience. Like, if I was staying at someone's house, I didn't want to be an inconvenience and be really, like, I didn't want to seem rude by saying I'm not going to eat what they cook and have to make my own separate meals. So depending on where I was, like twice it happened, I just decided to eat what they were cooking or what they were giving me because I didn't want to be too much of a inconvenience.
I just said inconvenience like 7 times.
One last thing I guess I wanted to say is that it's quite easy now to find things that are, like, you know, labeled vegan, and sometimes they might be a bit more expensive, which is super annoying, but it is what it is. Like, this is how it is. And I guess it's all about supply and demand as well. Like, the more people decide to eat vegan, the cheaper things will be, hopefully, in the future, but we don't know. You can always try making your own things. Like, you don't have to buy, you know, like vegan sausages and oat milk and almond milk and everything. Like, you can try making your own things. It does take a bit more time and effort, but if you're willing to do that, then why not? Give it a go. And I guess the one thing I want to say to wrap it all up is that if you fail, like if you give up something and you go a month or 2 months or even a year without eating it and you decide to eat something again, like it's okay. Like everybody has slips. No one's perfect. Like this, it's not about being perfect. It's not about being right all the time. Sometimes you are gonna really want that one thing that you can't have, and you're gonna want to try it, and it's okay. Like it's totally okay to try it. You know, just make better choices slowly when you're comfortable, and don't like force yourself not to eat things and make yourself super unhappy. Like that's just, it's not worth it. It's not worth that. Obviously, like always choose yourself before anything. Like if you're not happy doing it, then don't do it. If your body is not thriving as a vegan, then give it up. Like eat what makes you happy. But if you feel good and if you don't really have an issue with it, then keep going, I guess. Thanks for watching this video. If you have any questions, if you want to know more about anything, feel free to comment below or reach out to me on Instagram, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!